Just in time. So, talking about the ARRL also, one of the things I'm going to talk about in here is another membership benefit of the ARRL, which is kind of important. So, originally, and if any of you don't know, my wife and I do testing with the Lakeland Club, and so, but we started having, we thought it was going to get up last month. Did anybody see my presentation there? You did. You're going to be a little bored, but the thing is that it was only just to be about a 10-minute spiel about what we do and how it all works and so on. But we started getting people starting to renew their licenses. Not in the K24s, the KR4s. This is going to seem like easy stuff, but for somebody who hasn't renewed their license in 10 years and didn't have to pay $35 before.
That's a shock.
Yeah, well, it's not just a shock, but it's the way they have it set up. It's the way the system is set up, and that's what I'm going to talk about here. So, in the past, before the FCC started charging the $35 to renew the license, it was a simple procedure. You could have even done it by mail. There is no mail. They don't take any mail. None of that's no mail. The most important thing to them now for you is your email address. If you've changed that since 2022 in July, I'm going to talk about why you're going to want to make sure you at least get logged on, even if your license is getting ready to expire. I looked at everybody's before coming here. I didn't see any that were in the near future to expiration, but the Lakeland Club, there were like 7, and I already had one that already came up to us who needed some help with the process. But you could have had a V18 process your 605, but the process these days is not as simple. And to top it off, the old legacy version of CORS was retired in July 15, 2022. And so if it's been a while since you've signed in your account, you must register the new version of CORS and then associate your FRN number with your new account. Your FRN number sticks with you. It's like your social security number with the FCC. Even if it's been a while since your license expired, it wouldn't hurt to log in there, maybe download an official copy of your license, just make sure that you can get into the system. I do that on a regular basis, both for my wife and myself. So, and most recently, it was in the news on January 20th, the FCC adopted changes to rules that every holder of an FRN number, I don't care whether you have a GMRS license, whatever kind of license you have, that you use an FRN number, that you have to update your contact information in the core system, email and postal addresses within 10 business days of the change. And that went into effect January 5th. Just as Florida requires you to change to your plates and your license and those things over, you need to do that. So because every FCC license, including amateur radio operators, have to go through this process. So your FRN contact information is handled separately. And apart from that, in the license manager, we're going to talk about that system. So there's actually 2 systems that you will deal with when you go through this process to renew your license. New Hams only had one because when they got processed, their application was filed, they then had a pending application in the system and could have gone in and paid. Not for us, because you're going to CORS, you won't see anything due. And you can do that within 90 days of your license. You'll want to use a PC, a Mac, perhaps even an iPad. Don't use your phone. The FCC has recommended that you do not use the phone to go through the process. This website was probably generated from the least budget, least bidder, and so it is not very user-friendly. And also, when you're going on the system, don't use your browser's back button. Use the go back link if you need to go back to something, because you could get logged out. And to renew your license, you need to know that it has to be done within 90 days. So your first step in the process is to locate your FRN number. If you don't know what it is, it's on your license copy, so you have that. And then you can find the FCC ULS system. You can Google FCC Universal Licensing System, or you can go to this web address. And I have this presentation online if anybody wants to see it, or in a PDF format that I can email. Okay. And just select the license search option, and you'll find, by putting your call sign in there, it'll come back and give all of your information with your FRN number so that you know what you're going to need to log in. So your second step in the process is to set up your account within the core system. And core stands for the FCC Commission Registration System. I think how they came up with that, crazy. But so you can also Google just FCC CORS, and you can be taken to that page where you can go ahead and register need for a username if you're registering for that new account. Go ahead and create a new account. You're going to enter in all the information. You're going to need the email address to be used as your username when you go to log in, and any notifications relating to your username account will be sent to you in an email. And it's important you get your email address right because it's part of the security system now. And if you accidentally get logged out, you got to go through the process of them emailing you a security code so that you can sign back into the core system. And that security code piece is something that anybody who hasn't logged in since July 2022 needs to know about. So if you accidentally hit the browser back key, you can find yourself having to go back and getting a new security code to log in. Once you get the security code to log in, your third step will be to log in and associate your FRN number with your CORS account. You'll find a associate username to FRN piece in there. You're going to go and it's going to bring up a pop-up window. The other thing that's very important is make sure you enter that FRN number correctly. Look at it 3 times, 4 times maybe, or 5, so that you don't try to associate the wrong FRN number with your account. And in the comments, you can put just something as simple as, you know, this FRN number is for me and I'm renewing my license. And then click continue. And at this point, if you were a technician who had just passed your amateur radio license, you would have already been at this point, had a CORS account set up and gone through and paid for your license. However, you went to that area now and you were logging in as a new ham and it was within 90 days and you went to that place to pay, you wouldn't see anything in there. We're going to talk about why. So why is that? When we've had successful technician candidates pass the paper digital submission, creates an application for a new license. And when they go in, we get an email at the end of the day that says that the license was accepted, but there was it's a pending status and that it was waiting for payment of fees. So they then can log in and then pay that fee that following day and go through and get their license processed. The 4th step is telling the FCC that you need to renew your license. This is done by signing into the FCC license manager, have the address, and then you can select the piece that says File Online. You log in with your FRN number and your password. So this is not in the core system. This is in the license manager. And this is when you're within 90 days of renewing your license. I went through and selected a waiver option that let me go most of the way through because it wouldn't let me do it with her license unless she was within 90 days. So you click on Renew License on that page at a glance, and then select the license you're going to renew. Now, it's important because some of you have GMRS licenses in here. I imagine mostly all of you do. The same process is involved when you go to renew your GMRS license. So you'll get to a page where it says you filter by radio service, where you'll see and I selected eligible, but if she had multiple, she had a GMRS license, she uses mine. As you know, your family license is good. So she would see both and select which license she'd want to renew, click add and move it over to the right. And that will then take you to a page that says, okay, you've selected to renew your license. It will just double check your license information. You're going to get a chance to update that. You click continue. And you're going to go through some questions that are kind of like on the 605 form, like and first ones you'll get, are you exempt from fees? Majority of you in this room would be no. And then you're going to come into the case where you can go ahead and update your license information. This is not her info, but you would update anything that changed for you accordingly and make sure all that information is correct. And then you start getting to questions like we would have in the 605 form. Have you been indirectly convicted by a felony in state or federal court? Either select yes or no, and if whatever the situation is, same thing we would have in a 605. And when you're all done, you're going to come to a certification piece where you're going to sign your name, and that's just at the point where you're going to tell it, I want to renew my license. And after you do that, you're going to come to a place where it says confirmation, your application has been successfully submitted. So just as we would have submitted, like if somebody gave me a 605 form and we submitted it for renewal, it does the same thing you basically would do in the license manager. You'd have 10 days to go into the core system and then pay to do your renewal. So the fifth and final step then would be to log back in to the core system, because now you've told it that you wanted to renew your license as a license manager. And yeah, so back in, you also have to get the security code again to sign back in. And in this particular case, you will select manage existing FRNs, FRN financial bills and fees. And then you'll go to selecting the FRN financial section. And then you're going to see if you had available ones, that you would click on view and make payments. And then when you click view and make payments, you'll get something with, they'll give you 4 tabs. You'll click on awaiting payment completion. Anybody who's gotten a license in the last few years has been through this and knows this. And then you'll see that your $35 fee is there. You can click on make payment. And then you will get an online confirmation that you made your payment, and that basically you're done. Thank you for your payment. Now, when you do this online, it seems like a lot longer procedure, and I can see why people have come to us for help. I had to actually help a guy over the phone with this. It just you just haven't done this in a while, and it's not a very user-friendly system. Hopefully, the new hams, and within 10 years, maybe they can come up with something a little bit more user-friendly. But that's the procedure now. So I'm going to tell you something else. If you want to avoid all this hassle of having to do this whole thing, like anything else in life, you can throw money at it and it'll go away. So if you remember back in the day, years ago in the 90s, I was a VE for W5Y, and it was one of the big things they did. Now they're a licensing service.
Right.
And what they do now is they have a complete renewal. It's $80, and that includes a fee that they'll pay to the FCC on your behalf. And once they process, they'll mail you a copy of your license. So you can pay $35, work your way through the screens, and which you should really do anyway, just so that you can get into your license at the FCC and the core system. But for somebody who just is, I've already caught a couple of spelling errors, but for somebody who just is befuddled by the system, you can pay $80 and they'll take care of the whole thing. And so 35 if you do it, 80 if they do it. Now, an ARRL membership benefit, which is this is a big thing too. And I just ran into this with, and some people don't realize it. There's some in this room who I've caught and just happened to look up by chance and said, hey, and I won't say your name, but hey, did you know your license expires in 10 days? So, and no, I didn't. And that can happen. People get busy. I had a guy on a LARP repeater who I'd never heard his call before.
Right.
I went home, I looked him up, and I said, and his license expired like 8 months ago.
Oh, no.
So the next day, I caught him on a repeater again and said, I'm not Big Brother, but I'm just trying to help you out. And the problem is that the guy had some, things going on with his family, but he moved 4 times.
Oh.
If you move, well, guess what? The W5YI, who will probably send you something anyway, an ARRL, if you remember, you might not have changed your address or didn't get sent to you. That's an issue too. So if you are an ARRL member and have a valid email address on file, you should receive a notification around your license around the 90-day period or just before that it's getting ready to expire to let you know. Now you can get the process going. I didn't really realize this process had gotten so complicated before.
Yeah.
I talked to Mike, AG4LT, when he renewed, I think it was a year ago, and he mentioned some of the issues he ran into, and I wasn't thinking much about it. So all of a sudden, more people started needing to renew their license, started coming to us, asking us questions on what they needed to do, and tried to help them through it. So that's the process. I have the whole thing online. There are some YouTube videos on it too, talking about the 2 different systems. And so
That's probably a common problem.
Yeah.
Right there,
And so, but if you have your GMRS license, just kind of note or put into your electronic calendar, 90 days out from the day that, from the day whether your GMRS license or ham license is going to get ready to expire.
Did the guy renew? I got to hear
He did. No, the guy that I talked to on the LARC. So I went back in the FCC system and I looked, and like the next day when I talked to him, I said, hey, I said, do you need some help? No, I don't need help. I've been through this course. I know the procedure. He was an experienced ham, and I think he was kind of embarrassed that it happened. And so he, the next day I saw PA pending application, because you go and look at somebody's license, you'll see a PA on there,
Right.
and sure enough, 2 days later renewed. Now, here was it.
So I had a WinLink guy say, "Hey, I can't log on to WinLink anymore." So I wrote the WinLink people, and he said, "Oh, that guy's license expired." So WinLink checks the
Yeah, they
existing
do.
database when you log in. Even
Yeah.
if you used WinLink before, it'll
I
check that
mentioned
it's-
D
and it's not
star.
instant,
That's great.
but it's like batch. So another good reason they do WinLink
Yeah.
is you'll find out if you expire.
Well, any other questions?
Oh, it's not really a question, but way back when I was in New Hampshire, I was looking through QST, or no, yeah, QRZ, and all the call signs that were available just for fun. And you know what came up on there? NI4CE. And yeah, and so I called into the net and I said, I just wanted to, I don't even know what to call it. I just found like a piece of traffic for, I didn't know what to say. And he said, well, what is it? Was Dave Rockwell? And I said, I was looking through the call signs that were available, and it said NI4CE was expired, or about to expire. And he said, we'll take care of that. Yeah.
I heard that was some years back. I heard that happened. So like I said, just make a note as to when your licenses expire, and just, try to keep up on that. The $35, that makes it harder because you've got to get, and by the way, so I mentioned that, you can't send in a check. There is nothing, you can't send them anything. So you're going to pay by credit card, debit card, or a bank transfer. So be prepared to do one of those things. So,
For the first 100 years, they didn't charge a dime.
well, yeah, and now I'm kind of breaking, because I've always had a GMRS license, but it used to be, I think it was $70.
$70.
And so, and then it was like, when I first got it, was only good for 5 years.
Yeah.
And then and of course now it's 10, but I'm kind of breaking even now, with between the two. But yeah, it's the government seems to be able to find other easy ways to get your money. I
Right.
don't know why they're making it so hard to get your money this way, but.
That website needs to be reworked.
Oh, it is horrible, and we used it, but don't use your phone, don't try to, because we had one guy who was at the Lakeland Club meeting. He was hunting people down. He went to the branded club, and anyway, long story short is that, I spent a half hour with him on the phone where he got a hold of somebody else's computer that he could use because he doesn't have a computer.
Okay.
And so we're walking there. So there will be people who may not be so computer savvy who are going to run into that. So if you do run into somebody who's not, or they have trouble with it, just let them know other hands out there willing to help, or send them my way. I'd be happy to help them.
When did they start the $35?
2022.
Yeah, 2022.
April.
Yeah.
I remember.
Yeah.
And if you upgrade, let's say you're renewed and you're good for 10 years, but then you can upgrade a couple of times.
Yeah, no charge for your upgrade.
I don't think I've ever paid it.
Yeah, no charge for your upgrade.
They were going to charge it first, but then they backed off.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
said
so no charge for upgrade.
No charge for
So
it.
you get your technician, you pay one time, and then general.
General started no charge. Yeah.
I paid for my GMRS not long ago, but I don't think I've ever paid to renew it. So I'd probably make the renewed like right.
And it's easier to get your GMRS if you already have your hand call, because then you're just going to the license manager,
Right.
telling it that you want to, you're telling it that you're going to want another license and go through it, because you already have your FRM. That's the big thing.
I got my last renewal about 3 weeks before the fee went in. Got my last ever.
And I think I must have just beat too.
But just trying to, I'm not trying to, kind of scare you, just be prepared. Don't wait till the last minute to do it. Go through and get it done and over with, and pay the $35 and be good for 10 years. And hopefully in 10 years, we'll come up with something a little bit better.
Still got, I got to renew M4 EMH this summer. It
Yeah.
expires in August.
Yeah.
So you might get off their
You probably saw that.
process.
too, probably.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So, I mean,
Is there a caveat to that upgrade? With, changing your call sign?
well, are we going to get a vanity call?
No, if you upgrade.
Oh, no, if you select something and you want it in the, or they're going to automatically assign no.
Okay.
No, what's interesting is, I got a call from a friend of mine who moved, I knew from Michigan. He moved to Riverview, not far from where we used to live.
All right.
And, he was asking, he says, hey, he says, for the longest time, they told us not that, anybody who was getting their extra to, because if they wanted to check the box, they have a call sign auto assign, not just to tell them, don't do it, wait until you do a vanity call.
Right.
Well, all of a sudden, they started issuing, again, group 2 calls, the 2x2s. They started issuing those out. So if an extra came in and took a test, we checked the box. They'll get issued the next one. If you go on to one of the call sign breakdown like AE7Q or any of those, you'll see where they're at in those 2x2s. But they started in call zone 4 issuing those now for extra class license upgrades.
They dropped the code requirement, but now they've got the navigation requirement.
Yeah, there you go. But making you work for it.
That's a
Making you work
gateway,
for it.
man.
Yeah, making you work for it. That's all I got.